式神は重複しないと使えないが、重複するためならいつでも呼び出せるんだ。歴代術師の中にこいつを重複できた奴は一人もいない。古部ゆらゆら。
儀式を俺を巻き込んで二人で。
奴かの剣異界新書マコラ。
Hello, welcome to the Mahoraga Guide. This guide will cover absolutely everything you need to know about playing as Mahoraga. Do keep in mind that this guide will not be nearly as advanced as the Megami one I made prior to this, as Mahoraga isn't nearly as complicated as Megami, but still has a lot of strategy that he can incorporate into his play. Do also keep in mind that Jujutsu Shenanigans is a very ongoing and changing game. Some things in this video may become outdated in the coming weeks or months, and if that happens, I'll acknowledge it in the pinned comment. But Mahoraga is a very unique character in Jujutsu Shenanigans. One of his most prominent features is his size and his health. His health is extremely high, and his health regen is identical to the other characters, meaning that he can heal faster than any other character at a single given time. Additionally, his M1s are destructive and have an extreme amount of range, and is the only ultimate in the game that can technically go on forever. But let's take a quick step back. How do you actually summon Mahoraga? To summon Mahoraga, you need another player in very close proximity to you. However, this is extremely dangerous. Summoning Mahoraga will make you lose 50% of your ultimate meter. You don't need 50% of your ult to summon him, but if you do try to summon him below 50% of your ultimate meter and you get interrupted, you'll lose your ultimate immediately. The most consistent way you can summon Mahoraga is to utilize Great Serpent, catching the opponent in your mouth and flying directly up in the air. This works as Great Serpent can't be evasived out of, so the opponent has very little time to react to you. Do be extremely careful though, as this isn't completely foolproof. Some people can land close to you and still attack you. Additionally, you need to be wary of Gojo, Sukuna, and Mahito, as they can use their domain expansions while using the ritual. Another way to guarantee the summoning ritual is actually to use it on a dead player. If a player is killed and you instantly summon Mahoraga on them right as they die, you can perform the ritual as normal. The visuals will be slightly bugged, but it won't impact the ritual at all. The way this works is the body of the player who died needs to be present when the cutscene of the ritual begins. If the ritual begins without any body being there, the ritual will start with no cutscene and Mahoraga will not appear. You'll lose 50% of your ultimate and nothing will happen. But now you've actually spawned as Mahoraga, you'll notice two very prominent features. First up is your ritual meter. At most, the ritual bar will last 25 full seconds, and once it runs out, you immediately die. In Megami's ultimate, depending on how much ultimate you had remaining when you summon Mahoraga will dictate how much of the ritual bar you'll get when you spawn as Mahoraga. If you summon Mahoraga immediately, you'll start with a full ritual bar, and the ultimate you had remaining will stay proportionate to how much ritual bar you'll get when you summon Mahoraga. However, at around 40% of your ultimate and below, Mahoraga's ritual bar will always spawn with around 40%, even if you use it at the last second of your ultimate. When you use your ultimate as Megami, you should consider if you even want to summon Mahoraga in the first place. If you wait until the very last second to summon Mahoraga, the player you're fighting against is likely going to use that to their advantage. They'll know that you spawned with an incredibly low amount of ritual, so they'll either run away or hit stun you until you can't move anymore and you will quickly die. Landing moves on other players will refill the ritual bar by varying amounts. All moves will refill the ritual bar, aside from World Cutting Slash, Light Parrying, and Ground Pitch. If you're looking to refill your ritual bar as much as you can, stick to doing 4 M1s as it will refill your ritual bar by 50%. Moves like Divine Pummel and Earthquake can refill it as well. However, the very small amount only allows you to break even from the time you spent using the move. Secondly, you'll notice a small red wheel with a sword inside of it. This makes up your passive key, and by pressing the ultimate key you can flick between the different modes: a sword, a shield, and a blue star. It will follow that exact pattern and loop around whenever you press the ultimate key or you press on the ultimate bar. When one of the icons is selected, you can press the special key to spin the wheel, and this will lock in the mode. The main use of this is to change your fourth move, which I'll cover much later. However, the shield icon has a special property. When entering the shield mode, you gain a parry, both a heavy and a light one. The heavy parry is performed by just simply M1ing as normal. Upon clicking in conjunction with an attack coming towards you, you'll parry it. A successful parry will negate all damage that was coming from the attack. Additionally, a successful parry will also regain some of your ritual bar. The parry also produces a hitbox which knocks opponents away if they're too close to it, dealing some damage in the process. And a unique gimmick to parrying is that parrying a projectile like a hollow purple will deflect it completely. The deflected projectile will go exactly where you're facing. It can't hit the person who originally casted the projectile, but it can hit other players, so it can be useful for teaming. A light parry is performed by blocking and then pressing M1. Light parrying has none of the effects of heavy parrying. The only similarity is the negation of all damage. I would never recommend using light parrying, as I don't personally see a use for it. However, heavy parrying is very useful, especially for fighting Gojos and Sukunas by deflecting hollow purples and fire arrows. The best way to make use of parrying is to pull it out at the last second when you notice a large attack coming towards you. In either the red sword or the blue star mode, you can have it pre-selected, so that if you see a large attack coming towards you and you know that you can't avoid it, you can just press the special key to immediately allow yourself to parry to negate all of the damage. When you swap between modes with Mahoraga, other players can see what you're doing. The wheel above your player model will glow a certain colour depending on which mode you switch to. You could potentially use this as a mind game, especially against Gojos and Sukunas. If they see that you're ready to parry, they may be deterred from actually using any of their moves. This allows for a gap to open to attack, where you can quickly switch back to either one of your other modes and allows you to get a free hit in with a front dash. This obviously is a hypothetical and isn't a foolproof plan. However, I hope to show that with Mahoraga you can incorporate some mind games when fighting decent to high level players. Now we're actually moving into Mahoraga's moveset, and you need to keep one thing in mind when playing as Mahoraga. As Raga, you have M1s and abilities that can be used while moving. You technically have full control of where the battle is going to take place. The best way to take advantage of this is to use your M1s and abilities to put opponents in a disadvantageous situation, like putting them into a corner or against a wall. Additionally, your uppercut has a very long hit stun amount, which means you can technically in some cases run after the opponent and use an ability after uppercutting them. This is not completely foolproof and isn't always guaranteed, because Jujutsu Shenanigans is a very weird game and people can control their ragdolls to potentially throw you off, but if you are close to a wall you can make use of it. And of course, Mahoraga's M1s have a block breaking feature. Your M1s are way slower than the other characters, and as a trade-off, your 3rd and 4th M1s are block breakers. Against players who go on the defense a lot, this is extremely helpful as they will not realize to counterattack. However, between your 2nd and 3rd M1, there is a large margin for someone to unblock and quickly counterattack you. Your opponent knows you have block breaking M1s and they have to play around it, so try and use that to your advantage. Be wary though, as high level players are likely to dash around your block if they see you holding it, as they know you're going to try and counterattack them. Dashes as Mahoraga are a big disadvantage, as your dashes are absolutely awful. I don't actually know what causes the variation in your front dashes, as sometimes you go a long distance and sometimes you barely move at all. Your side and back dashes aren't as good either, so you're going to need to rely on your long ranged M1s and their block breaking in order to start a combo and win the M1 trades. But there is one very weird property that Mahoraga's dashes have. You can jump and dash at the same time next to a wall and it allows you to glide up it. I have no idea why this happens, but if someone tries to use a building to run away from you, you can use this in combination with Takedown to easily catch up to them. The first move you have as Mahoraga is Divine Pummel. This is an unblockable grab move and can be used as a decent combo extender. Even though the move has a decently long windup, you can still use it after 3 M1s just fine. Additionally, it can hit people who are ragdolled. However, this is again really janky. Grabbing someone after a down slam with Divine Pummel isn't always going to work, but Divine Pummel is very good for grabbing opponents out of the air with Earthquake that we'll discuss later on. Generally, if your opponent doesn't have a ragdoll cancel, you should use Divine Pummel after an Earthquake, but if your opponent does have their evasive, you can use Divine Pummel after 3 M1s to make them waste it pretty efficiently. If you want to use Divine Pummel as a combo extender and to lead it into other moves, you do need to be careful. When the move ends, you'll ragdoll a player forward, and this tends to fling them forward pretty far to a point where they recover and you can't extend the combo efficiently. This doesn't always happen, but there is an inconsistency to it. Divine Pummel leads into every single ability in your kit except from World Cutting Slash. This means that you can use it basically whenever you want in a combo. There's no real recommended order to using Divine Pummel. You can use it at the start or you can finish the combo with it. It's really your choice. Next is Ground Pitch, the only move in the game with a bug that is considered a feature by the community. By default, you'll pick up some of the ground below you and throw it in front of you. But if a player is standing where you're picking up the ground, they'll be picked up and thrown as well, dealing a hefty ton of damage. Just picking up the ground normally and using the move as a ranged attack can be useful in certain circumstances. See, depending on how much material you pick up during the attack will depend on the hitbox of the explosion after it hits the ground. Using walls of buildings or certain parts of the map which extend much deeper into the ground, you can make the projectile's hitbox much larger and turn it into a micro explosion. While this isn't the most ideal way to use ground pitch, it is still an option to keep in mind if you're playing against a player who is particularly passive and doesn't want to come near to you, mainly Megamis for example. Picking up players with ground pitch tends to be the main way to to end a combo. You can use ground pitch as a combo extender if you use a wall. However, there's no real point in doing this because ground pitch is already such a good move that there's no real reason to use it as a combo extender and finish off with a different move unless you're trying to go for style points or want to shake up your combo game. The way you see most people use this move is to guarantee a hit into world cutting slash, which is ideally the best way you'll want to use it, as it can do a massive amount of damage and puts them far away, so you are completely safe from basically anything. And of course, how could I not ignore how glitchy this move is? Firstly, ground pitch can go through walls. By simply being against a wall and looking at it, you can send a projectile of ground pitch straight through it and it won't even impact the wall at all. If you're playing in a public server, this allows you to throw people off of the map. In my previous Megami guide, I outlined a similar tip which you could do a Great Serpent, and in that guide I also mentioned that it wasn't very practical outside of a few scenarios. The only practical scenarios I see with this sort of strategy is if you threw a Mahoraga off of the map, which would reset the Megami user back to 0, or if you're being teamed on and you can catch one of them or both of them to separate them. There is also the very infamous glitch with ground pitch that sends them way further than usual. I don't exactly know what causes this glitch, but I do know that it commonly occurs if you pick up multiple targets or if you use the move after an M1. But if you manage to get this glitch, it will send the person out of the map without any chance of recovery because ground pitch lasts forever in the air. It can't exactly be relied upon, but it is extremely funny to do. Earthquake is similar to Divine Pummel in the sense that it can be used whenever you want and combos into every other move just fine. By simply tapping the move, Mahoraga does a punch to the ground. It ragdolls in a very small area of effect, however the move is very fast. But by holding down the move and aligning the two visual squares on your screen, you can produce a large area of effect that deals a lot of damage. This move allows you to do a lot of things. Even without the second part of Earthquake, the initial punch allows you to get a decent amount of damage and leads into combo extensions, as it does leave the opponent ragdolled right in front of you. While you can use any move after Earthquake, it works best with Divine Pummel or Ground Pitch because grabbing someone out of the air with Divine Pummel is extremely consistent and the damage of Ground Pitch is always helpful. You can even turn World Cutting Slash into a combo extender if you use it right after Earthquake and then use Ground Pitch as a follow-up. You can't use Divine Pummel after this, as it has a very small amount of time where they can recover and pop an ult to potentially get iframes and avoid your combo, but I'm sure you can guess how impractical this actually is. Generally, just try to stick to using Ground Pitch and then World Cutting Slash, but if you want to shake up your combo game, like I said earlier, you can go for it. But by only using Earthquake, Ground Pitch and World Cutting Slash, you can kill a Yuji or a Megami or any future characters with 85 HP easily. You only need to add Divine Pummel into the combo if you're fighting a Gojo, a Hikari, Mahito, or any other characters with 100 HP. Do also be wary of where you use Earthquake on the map, as there's some parts of the map where you might fall through and the Earthquake might get cancelled, or if you use it indoors or in the subway, the person you're attacking might hit the ceiling and they'll recover much faster than if you were outside. But now, finally, we're at Mahoraga's 3-in-1 moves, and each of them can be useful despite what you may think. Starting with Takedown, despite its low damage, it's an amazing utility tool with a lot of mobility. The main appeal of this move is its teleporting feature, and if you play Gojo and are familiar with its teleporting tech, the same things work here. If you don't know, the way teleports work in Jujutsu Shenanigans is once you teleport to an opponent, you will always face them no matter which direction you're facing, and you can use this to your advantage. By default, if you use Takedown by looking at someone, you'll just teleport a small distance and hit them from the front. However, if you activate the move and you quickly swing your camera around, you can teleport at them from an unexpected angle, either from the side or even from behind. You do need to be quick with this though. If you teleport normally and you quickly switch your camera around too late, you'll teleport in front of them and completely miss the move, and Takedown has a feature where if you miss the move, it has a much longer cooldown. In a fight, it works as a combo ender and as a good surprise tool for movement. Additionally, with the teleport tech that I showed, you can easily catch up to runners. Just be careful around walls though, as if you try and do the teleporting tech near a wall, you can easily mess it up and you'll miss the move completely. Now, we finally have to talk about Mahoraga's worst move in his kit, and I don't think many people are going to debate me on this. Adaptation is a small parry that grants you a buff depending on which type of attack hits you. There are 4 types of damage that you can adapt to: melee, projectile or bullet, explosion, and domain. Upon successfully landing one of these adaptation parries, you regain all of your ritual bar as well as gaining a 10% adaptation to any of the phenomenon you've been attacked by. Additionally, the cooldown will only be 2 seconds as opposed to the usual 5. Every time you subsequently land an adaptation to a move, you gain 20% resistance to said attack. This adaptation caps out at 70% and you can only hold one adaptation at once. What this means is that if you have a resistance already built up, if you adapt to a different kind of attack, then you'll lose the resistance entirely and have to start from the beginning. Landing an adaptation is a huge risk because you're already in the shield mode, which completely disables your M1s, so you need to be careful about what you adapt to. And using adaptation does not negate any damage at all. Despite the damage, in a recent update, adaptation now heals you whenever you adapt to something. From my testing, I found that it heals around 15 to 20 HP, which allows you to out-heal most base moves in the game. but to many ult moves this will still have a massive impact on your health bar. In Sukuna's domain you can use Adaptation over and over again to almost out-heal the domain, however it's very hard to get a Sukuna away from you and try to use your Adaptation when he's rapidly attacking you and you have all of your M1s disabled. But if the Sukuna you're playing against is fairly obvious and predictable in what he does, you can parry most of his moves and get out of the domain with minimal damage take. Ideally you want to build up a resistance to melee attacks, as the other type of attacks are very easy to parry, or domains which only affect Sukunas can be easily adapted to inside of his domain. But physical attacks aren't just M1s, as they do take up a lot of melee attacks such as Hakari's moves in his jackpot form. I'd personally recommend trying to use Adaptation on front dashes, mainly because they have a long wind up and you can easily prepare for the attack. But do keep in mind that players can see which special mode you're in, so if you're trying to adapt they likely won't fall for the same thing twice. And Adaptation gets changed like every single update, so don't be surprised if this gets outdated pretty quickly. But now the final move, which I don't really have a lot to say because it's so damn simple. World Cutting Slash. After a very long wind up you shoot a long range projectile that cuts absolutely everything in front of you and deals massive damage. It's basically like Sukuna's, but it has longer range but doesn't do as much damage, but keeps a consistent damage no matter how many people are hit. If you want to kill someone efficiently then just use World Cutting Slash, as you can easily kill someone by using all 4 of your moves and comboing them together. World Cutting Slash does have a surprisingly small hitbox in regards to how tall it is, as it can be easily jumped over with a small boost in elevation. Additionally, it's amazing for breaking domains and deals a large amount of damage to Hakari's. I feel bad for not having a lot to say about this move, but it's so damn good that I really don't have a lot of other things to talk about. You simply use it after ground pitch and deal a massive amount of damage to anyone who gets caught inside of it. Just be wary of its very long wind up and its extremely long cooldown of 30 seconds, as if you're being teamed on in a public server, which you typically will, you'll probably be interrupted and be without a 4th move for a very long time. So in situations like this, Takedown might be more effective. And that is the Mahoraga guide. Finally, this took a little while, 3 months or so. Yeah, sorry about that. I got a little bit lazy and I got a little bit burnt out of Battlegrounds games in general. It was a bit of a short break. I just enjoyed some other shows, other medias, played some new games. It was fun. And now I have Megami fully covered all of his moves and Mahoraga as well. I do hope that this was a sufficient guide to Mahoraga. I did try my best to cover everything, including some unknown techs and things that I don't really see used. I think Mahoraga is fine. He's not my favourite thing to play. I much prefer Megami in his base, but Mahoraga is still amazing. He has ridiculous damage that can instantly wipe out anybody he chooses to. And really, his kit is just super good. I still can't believe at one point, even in my last guide where I said, please buff Mahoraga. And yeah, back then he kinda sucked, but man, the 4th move really tied it together and now he's just an absolute beast. Holy moly, and the ground pitch as well, the ground pitch buff definitely helped. I can't imagine if he'd be much better if he didn't have it, but that's beside the point. I do hope you enjoyed. Will I do more? Maybe. I had a decent, surprising amount of fun making this, and I also want to say thank you ever so much for the absolutely incredible support on the last 2 guides. You guys are way too nice. Jesus, I thought it would like get 4 views and that was it, but no, it took off, and the comments, man, they did bring me to tears a little bit, I won't even lie. They were so unbelievably kind, so thank you. And really, I've got nothing else to say, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.